Good morning, traders, and welcome to NewsWares Trade Talk for Friday, November 28th. Okay, so let's take a look at the action. The action's kind of odd today because, the S&Ps weren't trading earlier because there was an outage at the Cypress One data center, which caused them not to be able to do any trades for a variety of the futures contracts. But I am seeing some updates here. It shows, I'm looking at the S&Ps this morning, and I do show some, I want to say positive activity. Let's take a quick peek, SPY, what we're doing now. 0.31%. Okay, that's positive. We'll take that. The key thing, really, this data center really was not expected, and it is going to affect pricing as we get closer to the opening. On the geopolitical front, you got Russia's President Putin calling the Ukraine peace proposal a good starting point. Retail stocks are really in focus this morning because you get the big sales events going underway today. But turn our attention over to Europe, and we're looking at the DAX. The DAX is higher by 57 points, or 0.24%. Retail sales came in, slightly weaker than the expectations, but market's still holding steady. Then we're looking at the FTSE in London, which is up 15 points, or 0.16%. Nice gains in energy and mining stocks. That's positive. Then we'll take a look at the CAC in Paris, and the CAC is up 0.2%, or 16 points this morning. We're seeing some positive action after their inflation rate held steady. Slightly below the forecast of 1%. So, that was good to see. Then we'll turn our attention over to Asia. Last night, the Nikkei rose 0.17%. There's an uptick in inflation that's setting the tone for a rate hike by the Bank of Japan. It could happen later next month. Hong Kong stocks, they fell 0.34%, underperformance in property and financial shares. China, on the other hand, was trading higher. It did close higher. Yes, some positive action in tech and clean energy stocks. So, it was good to see. Then we're turning our attention over to oil, and oil remains a wild card. I mean, you're looking at Brent, and Brent is trading lower by about 16 cents to $63.18. The WTI, it's not trading because of the futures outage, but we do show Brent trading slightly lower this morning, so we got to keep an eye on crude oil this morning to see what happens. Here's an OPEC meeting that's going to happen on Sunday. They're likely going to, talk about their production for January. It's not expected to raise production. They're expected to stay status quo, but that's going to be a key event affecting oil prices, heading into the weekend. Okay, in terms of earnings action, there's no real earnings reports coming out, yesterday afternoon or this morning, so we're going to kind of pass on that. But next week you got Salesforce.com, you got Snowflake, you Marvell, you got a number of good companies reporting next week. In terms of economic reports, nothing really scheduled for this week. The Fed's on the quiet period. They get a Fed meeting December 9th and 10th. Likely to expectations are for them to lower the Fed funds rate by 25 basis points. The IEEPA tariffs, I mean, that decision by the Supreme Court could happen any day. I mean, maybe possibly before the 15th. We got to keep an eye on that. Okay, now we're going to move on. We're going to talk about stocks that are moving this morning. What do we see here? Alibaba launches a new Quark AI glasses in China, similar to Meta's AI glasses. Google withdraws EU complaint against Microsoft after probe launched. Amazon's taking aim at India's banks with new consumer loan offering. That's really what I'm seeing on that front. Take a quick peek. In terms of Dow Jones 30s stocks, Apple reportedly challenges India's antitrust law that could trigger a $38 billion fine. Microsoft, French antitrust watchdog, dismissed the complaint against Microsoft, so it's kind of positive. All right, let's move on to our stock of the day for today. I mean, I got to go with SNDK, Sam, Nancy, David, Keela, because there is a catalyst. This is SanDisk. Listen, the stock was added to the S&P 500 today. So, typically the run happens ahead of time, but it sold off a little bit. So I think there might be an opportunity. You look at the call volume on Wednesday, 24,099 versus put volume of 14,779. Open interest, 110K versus 85K. Major brokers still positive on it. They're raising price targets. So, listen, if I can get in at 222.50, I think this could be a good opportunity. So that's my pick of the day. SanDisk, ticker SNDK, 222.50. All right, let's take a look at the news that's hitting the tape over the last 15 minutes to see if there's anything hot happening. CME says Globex futures and options market to open up at 7:30 Central Time. It's 8:30 our time. Okay. Bitcoin's trading a little higher. Boeing to build 96 AH-64 Apache helicopters for Poland. JP Morgan's out there seeing a Fed rate cut in December. Campbell Soup, they had the executive that was talking, had some negative comments about their products. He's no longer employed at the company. Fed's Beige Book showed economic activity, little change across the districts. That came out Wednesday afternoon. All right, that's all I'm seeing. Okay, let's talk about, Wednesday's pick of the day, which was Walt Disney, ticker DIS, David, India, Sam. Hey, look at the numbers. Stock opened up 103.31, fell to 102.88. I said entry price to 103. So if you're able to get in at 103, it did run to 104.25 after that. So, that beats the 1%. Disney was a winner. But okay, traders, that's what I have for you today on this Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, which is typically an unusual trading event. Typically occurs on this day every year. So let's keep an eye out for that. But guys, you know what to do. Let's go out there and let's make some green.